The film opens with a father blasting some epic 80s rock on the open road. His son Brent, who is just learning to drive, is not a big fan of his father's music. The scene quickly turns grim when Brent takes his eyes off the road for a split second. A bloody man appears. Brent narrowly manages to avoid him but ends up crashing into a tree. The crash leaves Brent injured and his father dead. The story resumes 6 months later, where we can see Brent buying drugs from his best friend. It's the end of the school year and the big topic on everyone's mind is the dance. A shy-looking girl in pink named Lola emerges from behind the lockers. It takes her a few seconds to work up the courage, but eventually she asks Brent to the dance. Brent politely refuses and explains that he is going to the dance with his girlfriend Holly. Lola is clearly upset by this rejection. Upon exiting the school, Brent meets Holly, who just got her driver's license. The couple park in a secluded area and begin getting intimate. At this point, Holly discovers that Brent has been using the razor blade he wears around his neck for self-harm. She, however, does not confront him, as she clearly has other things on her mind. As the camera pans to the window, we see Lola standing there in full stalker mode. Brent returns home and we learn that he blames himself for his father's death and refuses to drive a car. Angry and frustrated, Brent first cuts himself and shortly thereafter contemplates suicide on a rock face. As he sits down to enjoy some music, he is abducted by an unknown man. A few hours later, his dog comes limping home badly injured and the local police chief is notified. Our hero is taken to a house in the middle of nowhere and we learn that he was abducted by Lola's father. We are given a glimpse into Lola's room and her scrapbook, which is disturbing to say the least. Her father walks in and gives her an elegant pink dress. She tries it on and we get the distinct impression that they have a sexual relationship. In the following scene, Brent wakes up in a tuxedo. He finds himself tied to a chair in a mock school dance. In attendance are Lola, her father who is also dressed up, and Lola's mother who has been lobotomized. Lola starts the evening off by injecting bleach into her victim's voice box, thus making him unable to speak or scream. After a quick couple's photo, the deranged family sits down to dinner. Lola clearly hates her mother and mistreats her every chance she gets, but her attention quickly turns to Brent. After being forced to suck Lola's finger, Brent asks for a bathroom break. Unfazed, Lola pulls out his penis and demands he urinate in a glass. When he is unable to do so, she threatens severe consequences. "Bring the hammer, Daddy. And a nail. Is certainly a line that will stick with you. Especially if you are male." Lola warns him that he has 10 seconds to urinate or Daddy will nail his penis to the chair. Brent manages to go in the last second. Moments later, Lola threatens to bite his member off. Brent kicks her to the floor and manages to escape. His freedom is short-lived, however. The father chases him up a tree and the deranged duo manage to get him down by throwing rocks. Determined not to let him escape a second time, the father nails his feet to the floor with 2 knives. Meanwhile, the chief of police finds Brent's broken music player and it becomes clear that he is in serious trouble. Back in Psycho Princess Land, Lola is showing Brent her scrapbook filled with photos of her previous victims. All of them are young men who have angered Lola in some way. Eventually we reach the one who got away, and Brent immediately recognizes him as the bloody boy in the street. As if he didn't have enough reason to hate his kidnappers, Brent now realizes that they are directly responsible for the traffic accident, his father's death, and the pit of despair he has subsequently fallen into. Continuing her twisted ritual, Lola carves a heart with her initials into Brent's chest and literally puts salt in the wound. Lola is ceremonially crowned queen of the dance with Brent as her king. A slow dance between Lola and Brent follows, but she quickly declares him unworthy, and begins dancing with her father. She tells him that he is in fact her one true prince. Brent starts cutting his ropes with his razor pendant, and just when you think this movie can't get any more gruesome, the torturers open a hatch in the middle of the living room. Monstrous screams are heard emanating from the darkness as they prepare to feed the creatures below with some roadkill. An ominous toolbox is presented, and Lola readies a power drill. A few agonizing moments later, she finishes drilling a small hole into Brent's forehead. We have seen these holes before, both as illustrations in Lola's scrapbook and as surgery performed on Lola's mother. As we hear a kettle whistling in the background, the evil princess explains her wicked plan. "It cooks your brains and turns you into one of them," she says with an evil grin. Just before pouring the boiling water into his skull, Lola complains that the hole is too small, and asks Daddy to make it bigger. As he is enlarging the hole, Brent manages to free his hands and cut Daddy with his hidden razor. He quickly removes the knives from his feet. This time escape is not what he is after. He repeatedly stabs Daddy in the neck before being tackled by Lola. Realizing this was no time to be a gentleman, Brent first breaks her nose, then promptly knocks her lights out. Not wasting time, he grabs the father, who is barely alive at this point, and pushes him into the hole, where we see zombie-like creatures start to eat him. In true horror villain style, Lola recovers from her KO in mere seconds, and pushes Brent into the zombie pit. As we get a closer look at the creatures, we realize that they are Lola's former victims who had their brains cooked, effectively transforming them into something resembling zombies. At this point, Lola accepts that her father is dead and decides to lock Brent in the zombie pit and call it a night. Fortunately for him, Lola threw a bunch of items in the pit in an attempt to save her dying father, and Brent manages to get his hands on a flashlight and a hammer. After dealing with the creatures, Brent begins to look for a way out while Lola suffocates her mother with a pillow. Elsewhere, Brent's girlfriend is unable to sleep and remembers how he briefly mentioned Lola asking him to the dance. She calls the police chief, who promptly decides to investigate. Upon reaching Lola's house, he notices a large amount of blood on the floor. Clearly the chief has never seen a horror movie in his life, as he decides not to call for backup and goes in alone. He investigates the sounds coming from the living room and discovers Brent, who is still trapped in the zombie pit. Before the chief has time to reconsider his lone wolf approach, Lola puts a meat cleaver through his skull, and drops him in the pit. Not one to waste time, Brent picks up the police-issue revolver and empties it in Lola's direction. No shot connects, but Lola retreats without closing the hatch. She picks up a new murder weapon and informs Brent that she is going to kill his mother and his girlfriend. In the next scene, we find Lola casually strolling along a country road just as Brent's girlfriend Holly is driving by. Lola manages to stop her car and attack her, but Holly gives her a good kick to the face and runs away. Meanwhile, Brent has managed to stack the bones and bodies in the zombie pit into a makeshift ladder and finally escapes. He commandeers the police cruiser and, it being Australia, goes into full-on road warrior mode. Brent, however, does not know that he is driving towards Holly and Lola. He narrowly misses Holly and ends up hitting Lola. The couple is reunited and Holly is horrified at his appearance. All seems well until we notice that Lola is in fact still alive, and crawling towards the car. Upon noticing this, Brent decides to end it Mad Max style, by putting the car into reverse and the pedal to the metal. The movie ends with Brent returning home and embracing his mother. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this recap video, please subscribe to Dark Recaps.